the Texans could make another move to move on from a player from their current team. An NFL insider is saying that the Texans should trade this wide receiver. He's only 24 years old, definitely has a lot of potential, but when he had to step up last year when other wide receivers were injured, he did not deliver. You had this player sit behind, learn. He had a great story, but he unfortunately has not been able to play up to standards, and that's kind of the reason why the Texans drafted Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel, just to get that extra wide receiver depth that they were missing from last season. So if you're new to the channel, welcome to Texans Digest. We're going to break everything down. John Metchie related in the trade rumors. If you're new to the channel, 83% of you are not subscribed. If you would, stay up to date with all Texans news, hit that sub button. But let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on John Metchie, because I love John Metchie. I just feel like you have to question, right? Is he going to be a part of the starting kind of first, second stringers? Is he a potential candidate to get released? Is he a potential candidate to not make the 53-man roster? That's definitely an interesting thought, because you look at this team and you have a lot of receivers already. Nico Collins, Christian Kirk, Tank Dell's injured. Jaden Higgins, you just drafted. Jalen Noel, you just drafted. Is Justin Watson, Xavier Hutchinson, and Braxton Berrios already ahead of John Metchie? That's the question you have to bring up, because if that's the case, you may be looking at a potential releasing candidate in John Metchie if you can't get anything for him. Now, the good news is he is 24 years old, so the likelihood the Texans can get something rather than nothing if they were to end up thinking about releasing him, because the team is so deep, you could probably get something for him if you trade, considering that the Panthers might want to be reconsidering John Metchie or Bryce Young and reunite those two. So if you don't know, John Metchie had a great story. He overcame leukemia. First year he got diagnosed, and it was very beatable kind of cancer. So he overcame that, came back, played okay. But the problem was, in the games that he played in, he was not the go-to guy. He did not step up in terms of what they were expecting from him when they drafted him in the second round. Now, does that mean you just get rid of him? I feel like this is a similar Dameon Pierce situation where you have two very talented players and the systems that they're playing in may not be the best to benefit them. Now, Metchie, again, he had his highs and he had his lows. Definitely, I think the Texans thought that this was going to be the next Jameson Williams, right? You wanted him to be that slot guy. You wanted him to be that big play guy for this team, but unfortunately only caught 40 passes in 29 games. He had that fumble in the Chargers game, so I feel like with the way the Texans depth chart is facing up to be, it doesn't look too promising for John Metchie. I'd love for him to sit behind a group of guys like this: Nico Collins, Christian Kirk, Jaden Higgins, Jalen Noel, even Justin Watson, who's a veteran but that much further along than Metchie. Metchie still got some potential. He can sit behind a few guys, and when you look at potentially when they were going to think about trading him, putting him on the trade block last season, it would have been a great idea to do that because he had better upside. He had probably, you could get more for him is what I'm saying, right? You could probably got a fourth, a third. Now you're looking at a sixth or a seventh. And I don't know. I mean, teams are probably going to want to pay that considering that's 24 years old. Metchie definitely has something left, but he has to go to the right team. And maybe the Patriots take a chance. The Panthers have him as a slot guy or just another depth piece. But I don't know if Metchie's going to get an opportunity to start for any other team, even if he is traded. Now, this was obviously posted last year. You look at Stephon Diggs, who was kind of the bridge wide receiver, 30 years old. See what he still had left from the Bills, but clearly took a step back. Unfortunately, tore his ACL, and then Tank Dell got hurt. Nico Collins was out 3-4 games with that hamstring. John Metchie stepped in, and it was a little bit of a rotation. John Metchie, Robert Woods, Xavier Hutchinson, and nobody really just separated themselves from the pack. And not that that was supposed to be the case, but that's definitely something you want to see, right? Now, the biggest thing is, what can you get from Metchie? Because you look at all these different things, all these different writers saying all these different things. The biggest problem here is, yes, they probably should trade John Metchie, but the likelihood of them actually doing that because they're not going to find anything crazy. There's no reason to trade Metchie. If you're going to get a 6th or a 7th round pick for John Metchie, what's the difference of just leaving him on the roster as a 5th or 6th backup as a wide receiver? I don't see the problem there. Honestly, this is what the receiving corps is probably going to look like. Nico Collins, Christian Kirk, Jaden Higgins, Jalen Noel, John Metchie, Xavier Hutchinson, Braxton Berrios. Jared Wynn will get demoted to the practice squad. Johnny Johnson, Xavier Johnson, all those guys will get demoted to probably the practice squad and be out of the 53-man roster. So honestly, it's a matter of do you want to cut Metchie, which would be, again, a dumb idea. So all these articles saying, yeah, Pierce might be moved on from the team. They should trade Metchie. It's, again, not the worst idea, but you have to realize that these guys are talented. Pierce last year, we saw in the last game of the season last year, he can play. John Metchie, 24, only second, third year in the league. I mean, from that first year, he did not play. So I want to see what we can get from Metchie. And honestly, it just reminds me of a player like Quentin Cephas from the Lions, who had a good season and then got suspended for all the betting drama. But again, somebody who has a lot of talent, but just hasn't been able to do the best with his opportunities. And when you have, things like that where he didn't play bad, but he didn't play anything great. So that's when you have that as a player, that's when you're going to get moved on from, especially when the Texans realize how weak their wide receiver depth was after Tank Dell went down, after Stephon Diggs went down. They were like, oh, dang, our top receiver is Tank Dell, Xavier Hutchinson, John Metchie. Those were the top 3 guys when Nico Collins got hurt. So, and then Stephon Diggs went down. So then Nico came back, of course, and then Tank Dell went down. And then, again, Stroud didn't trust any of those wide receiver 2 or 3s. I mean, he had to throw it to him. He didn't have really much of a choice, but it just wasn't working. So that's the problem when you have all these guys and now the team is looking much more improved. Do you consider trading John Metchie? I feel like there's no real reason to because you're not going to get much for him. So let me know what you guys think. Are you trading John Metchie? I feel like you might as well just keep him on the roster at this point. But to be completely honest, I'm looking forward to this top 3 in the core. It looks like Jalen Noel and Christian Kirk. I don't know if Noel wins that job by the start of the year, but looking at Kirk, he's probably the main slot guy. Could teach Noel a few things. Noel fell to the 3rd round for a reason, and definitely don't know if he's ready yet. But we love the talent from them at Iowa State and the Cyclones. So they played again hand in hand, Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel. So looking at this roster, I mean, there's definitely a lot to love. C.J. Stroud, franchise quarterback. Joe Mixon, he's on probably his way out as a NFL starter. No offense, love Joe Mixon, but he's probably got 1 to 2, maybe 3 solid years left. Running backs, their careers are shortened, kind of why the Texans drafted Woody Marks, maybe for the future, maybe for this year, a little 1-2 punch. I mean, I don't mind it. It's interesting to see what the offense is going to look like. I mean, we've kind of been trying to break it up for a while in terms of what is this team going to look like. It's probably going to be Nico Collins on the left. You got Jaden Higgins on the right, a similar play style, but they're both really good route runners, can both jump, really good vertical jump in terms of that spectacular catch, if you want to go with terms like that. But Christian Kirk in the slot, Jalen Noel, and then maybe you have a Justin Watson kind of as that backup. So, the Texans are planning ahead. If there is any injuries, we're gonna knock on this wood right here. But you have the depth at the position of wide receiver. Justin Watson, Braxton Berrios. They're not anything crazy, but they could fill the need better than what they had last year with Xavier Hutchinson and John Metchie, because Berrios has been a consistent starter in this league, and does he rotate in with Noel? I'm not too sure, but you have the depth at wide receiver. You have a lot of different tight ends: Schultz, Brevin Jordan, Cade Stover, Luke Lachey. So that's a lot to look forward to there. And the offensive line is new and improved. The offensive coordinator, Nick Caley, that's new. So a lot of new things for the Texans that they kind of have to just get together and figure it out in offseason workouts, right, and before minicamp and all that stuff. So throughout the upcoming season, right, you got to figure out your rapports, who you're going to be, what your system's going to do. So they're going to finalize all that, over the next few months in terms of before the season starts. But, that's all I got for you. when you're looking at this, it's a tough situation for Mr. John Metchie to be traded. I feel like you just keep him on the team, but again, beats me. I'm not an NFL insider, but at the same time, I feel like all these articles are just fluff and bogus, and I feel like everybody in the comments is kind of agreeing with me in terms of the fact that this doesn't really make any sense why they would get rid of Pierce, why they would get rid of Metchie, and why would they consider trading for Trey Hendrickson. So thank you everyone so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts, as always, in the comments. Appreciate it. You watching. All the support has been crazy. So thank you guys, everyone, so much for watching. Once again, if you would hit that sub button, stay up to date with all Texans news. This has been Mike Zanetti, Texans Digest, and we'll see you in the next episode.